The other people you might have to deal with when buying a house are building inspectors. Whilst it might not be essential depending on the property, I can pretty much guarantee you'll save money by using one. Either you can get one done and observe what they do, so if you don't happen to buy that house, at least when you're inspecting other houses, you can look for cracks in the wall or look at the stumping yourself or wiring and really eliminate the costly houses rather than having to keep paying for a building inspection over and over again. And the other thing is that if there is faults with the home, when it comes to negotiation, you can actually negotiate down so the vendor pays part of his costs. I put this principle into action when I was buying a house down in Morwell. My first offer on the house was $100,000, subject to building inspection. When I got a building inspection done that week, I discovered that I had to spend $3,000 on stumping, because I also got a quote for the stumping at the same time just to make sure. So I resubmitted my offer at $98,500. So effectively, I was paying $1,500 for the stumping, and so was the vendor. I thought it was a fair outcome. I got a discount on my original price on the property, and the vendor still got the sale. We both knew before the building inspection there was stumping issues. It was just a matter of how much they cost. So this way, we got a professional quote, and we both knew exactly where we stood. The great thing about becoming an area specialist is that within a pretty short period of time, you're going to be exposed to the exact same information that a real estate agent uses to price the homes. That is, by recording all the other sales that have happened in the area recently, you have a reference point, which is exactly what the real estate agent uses when a new house comes up for sale. Here's a quick case study of a house in Nunawading, about 18 k's out from the city of Melbourne. It's just a great day one reference point, I suppose, on how to become an area specialist, because everyone has a day one. Well, here I am outside 50 Esdale Street in Nunawading. The reason I've chosen this house is because I think it's a great case study for first home buyers. All I did was look it up in the local paper, and as I went through I noticed a property for $290,000, which is very cheap for this area. So it's definitely one that first home buyers are going to be attracted to. Unfortunately, I got onto it pretty late and the auction's only tomorrow. The good news is though that it's a great learning experience for me. It's just a real lesson that ideally it would have been good to know about this 2 weeks ago so I could really follow it through. There's always going to be a day one where you get into property, and for me on this case study this is day one, so I can have a look through the property, see how it turns out, and then pass on the information to you guys. I'll also go back home, look through the internet, get comparable sales, look at the area, so you'll see how I go about researching an area before purchasing to buy my first home. So I have with me here a picture of the actual advertisement. They've taken the photo from inside the property, so I'll take you around in a moment, but there's a lot of trees and you don't have very good vision of the house. In this photo they've actually taken it from a better angle, so it presents the property in the best possible way. As with these photos here, this one here is a nice photo of the living room, and down here the kitchen, whereas as a matter of fact it's quite run down on the inside and there'll be a lot of work to do. So they've obviously presented the property in the best possible way. Coming to this side of the board, we'll notice that it's on 723 square metres. So I think a first home buyer is going to have a bit of competition with developers who potentially would just bowl this over as the land could go for a cheap price, and they'll put two up instead. So that's going to be the main competition for a first home buyer on this house. Something that seems to always be advertised for a house is the location. The old rule, location, location, location. Whether or not you believe in that's up to you, but in this particular case they've mentioned primary schools, Tunstall Park, the shops, and of course the big one, the Eastern Freeway, which is probably only about 200 metres down that way. So it's far enough away so we don't hear any noise here. It's quite a good location, but it's very, very close, so you can be in the city in no time. Okay, let's head on in and see what we can find around the outside of the property. It's vacant, so I'll just have a few snapshots and talk to you about a few things I noticed about this property. I'm standing in the driveway now. The driveway is basically crushed rock all the way through, very old, really needs to be updated. You can see down in this side there's a few trees here and there. That just really needs to be pruned back and tidied up. I wouldn't say there's a lot of work in doing the gardening, but it's just very overgrown because it's a state trustee property, meaning that I think an elderly couple probably lived here and they're now at a retirement village or they've moved on. So it hasn't been looked after probably for a fair few years now.